Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of In the Pit with Lobo Tigre. Our victim of the day, or perhaps I should say guest of honor, is Jeff Pontius. He's the CEO of Corvus Gold. Jeff is someone I've known for a long time, and readers of my past work made a bunch of money with him when we bought into the parent company of Corvus, International Tower Hill, during the crash of 2008. Those who were brave enough, I think we got a 10-bagger out of that, a spectacular win on just drill success. Now, Jeff's got a new company, Corvus Gold, that made a substantial near-surface oxide gold discovery called North Bullfrog in southern Nevada. That kind of faded with the gold price after 2011, and then they made a new discovery, or increased a discovery called Mother Lode, and this has really got a lot of investors' attention. So Jeff, why don't you talk to us about what Corvus is working on now, and then we'll get to my questions.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks, Louis, and it's great to see you again. I think probably Corvus' best analogy for it is we've driven the company based on exploration success. That's really played well for us. We have 4 deposits that we put into a scoping study that was announced last November. That scoping study, those 4 open pit deposits had a contained ounce amount of about 3.6 million ounces, so substantial. With that, about 8 million ounces of silver. We recover about 2.6 million ounces out of the actual mine plan. So it was a substantial new Nevada discovery. And what we've been doing now is increasing the size of the resource at Mother Lode. That's our newest discovery. And now we've just moved in last month into testing some new targets back on our North Bullfrog project. So Corvus is really a drill-driven sort of company. It's the bread and butter of what we do in the junior sector. And we've really, in the past, made money with for our shareholders in Corvus based on our ability to find and develop new deposits. Corvus is not going to be a miner or a mine builder, mine operator. Corvus is most likely going to be involved in a transaction in the future. And so that's really our premise of how we're going to go forward with taking the company and building value for the shareholders and ultimately giving them a premium, we believe, at the end of the day when an acquisition opportunity comes along for Corvus. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. As you say, they're all open pit, relatively low strip. And pretty simple mining targets. Mother Lode does have a sulfide component that's very important to it, and that sulfide requires a bit more involved processing to actually get the gold out. We float the concentrate the sulfide, and then take that concentrate and oxidize it in a pressure ox system. And then that material is then leached with conventional cyanide, and we extract the gold from it. And so the overall program that we proposed in the PEA has about a $425 million capital cost, which isn't huge, but it's not small. And so that is really something we're building on right now. That's why our focus was on Mother Lode over the last 9 months or so, to really expand that sulfide resource and make it into a much larger part of the overall production plan that we're going to see to really justify that extra $100 million that we're putting in the capital for the pressure ox system, because those are not cheap systems.
Right. Okay. Well, that is a good overview, and there's a lot to tease apart there. Let's come back to the transaction question, the takeover question later. But let's start with Mother Lode. I've been there more than once. I was there just last month and was very happy to see you drilling and testing new targets at North Bullfrog, basically doing what you need to do. So I was very happy to see that. But let's look at Mother Lode for a second. You stand there at the old pit. There's maybe some of the sulfides poking out of the bottom, and you say there's an important sulfide component, but really most of the resource is in these sulfides going off the bottom of the pit, heading north. So it is undercover, maybe not a huge strip ratio, but it's not like it's just starting at surface the way North Bullfrog is, and it is higher grade, but it's not super high grade. So, can you talk to us about, like, if that was at surface, what would be the gram equivalent, or since it's not at surface, how does the economics work there? I mean, and I'm not sure, but it seems like it gently plunges too.
Yeah, it plunges at about 25 degrees to the north, and ultimately, in our farthest drill hole, is actually under about 350 meters of cover, which is no small distance of, we're talking 1,200 feet of material. So you're absolutely right. The overall strip ratio on the deposit is about 4 to 1. So it isn't our typical 0.5 to 1 like we'd have at North Bullfrog, where there's no waste material in the deposit until we get to the very end of the mine life at North Bullfrog. So the sulfide component is about 60% of the ounces reside in the sulfide. It has an average grade of about 1.75 grams per ton. We can get a good concentration ratio on that. We're able to get in the current mine plan with relatively simple concentration, about a 5 to 1 concentration ratio. So basically, we bring the grade up to about 8 grams a ton by the time it goes into processing for the pressure ox system. And that's an important aspect of upgrading the deposit. The oxide material in the deposit, which makes up about 40% of the ounces, has an average grade of about 0.5 grams per ton, and that would be processed with a run-of-mine heap leach. So very similar to what we do at North Bullfrog. So it's really important in the style of mineralization we have at Mother Lode. It is hosted in sediments. So it looks a lot like what you would see in north central Nevada on, say, a Carlin deposit, although this deposit is not typically a Carlin deposit. It was deposited closer to the surface, and so less pressure, less temperature when the gold deposit formed. But it does have that beautiful sediment-hosted, very consistent grade across very broad width. So it enables us to look at mining benches in this deposit that are in the order of 40, 50, 60 meters high, which really helps out with a lot of mine economics and mine planning. What we've got in the current plan is an ability to what we call stockpile or grade stream this deposit, which is really important in the early days of the development of the deposit, because for the first 4 years, we can operate at an average mill grade of 3.5 grams a ton going into the mill. So that means a concentrate grade of 12 to 14 grams a ton. Makes a lot of money when we're in those first 4 years. Produces about 350,000 ounces a year. So it's a very substantial production plan that we have by being able to grade stream this deposit. So we're just basically taking the highest grade part of the deposit as we mine it. We stockpile the lower grade material, and that comes in later in the mine life. What's important with what the drilling you saw going on there at Mother Lode is that we are now expanding that deposit, so we're getting more material to grade stream with. And so it looks like now, instead of 4 years at 350,000 ounces a year and then dropping down to 220,000, we'll be able to push this project out to about 8 years of close to 350,000 ounces because we have that additional material. So the deposit's growing, it's bigger, it's better. So I think at the end of the day, scale is really the important thing. Just like all mining in Nevada, scale is really, really critical.
Well, scale
you got to
and
have enough
consistency.
tons.
If you have those
Yes.
consistent mineralized units of rock, then I can
Right.
see how important that is. So, you waved your arms a little bit there, but there's going to be a new resource estimate then coming out?
Yes, we'll probably have a new resource estimate that will include an expanded resource at Mother Lode. We're hopeful that we get that done by the end of the year. Importantly, what's also going on right now is we're moving the metallurgical work along. We're looking for opportunities to lower that capital cost, i.e., can we get rid of that pressure ox system? We've had some encouraging results, and we're working on those now with taking the concentrate, doing a fine grind of that concentrate, and then doing a high-intensity cyanide leach of that. This is a system that's being used at Cripple Creek right now for the sulfide mineralization there. It's something we've had some experience with Anglo with, and so we've been able to tap into some of that experience as well as the pressure ox system. We basically built the scenario around their Corrego de Situ mine down in Brazil that they developed the pressure ox concentrate system for. So we're trying to take some advantage of some metallurgical work. Now we have to see if that is better result than doing a pressure ox system. But right now, what we found is the habit of the gold is native gold and electrum, but very fine grained, that's contained within the sulfide grain and as embayments on the edge of these sulfide grains. And if we can break it small enough, we can give access to the cyanide to those gold grains. It's not tied up in the lattice of the sulfide crystal itself. So it is accessible to cyanide if you can grind it up fine enough. So that's some of the work going on right now. Also, we have some bio-ox work. We're doing the very good results came out of that. It was actually, this deposit was mined in the late 1980s. And if you wonder what a surface vision of this looks like, you saw the hole. There was a 1.5 to 1 strip ratio for that hole. That material was taken out to a run-of-mine heap leach, and it was put on a run-of-mine heap leach, and they got about 80% recovery out of the oxide portion of that. So that about 35,000 ounces were produced in 1987 to 1989. So there's kind of a test heap experience out there. When Rayrock had the property, they put a lot of money into bio-ox of the sulfide material, and that looked very encouraging. So we've been following up on that work that they did.
I'm very interested in the metallurgy, and particularly, it seems like the potential synergies between the different deposits, and you have some of the higher grade, including sulfidic material on the North Bullfrog side. Is it high grade enough that you could truck it over and process it with the mother lode sulfide mineralization? And if so, is it similar enough that it would process the same way, or would there be problems there?
We're evaluating that right now with our current drilling we're doing out there. And as you say, we have hit some interesting sulfide zones on sort of the northwest side of Sierra Blanca, the big deposit there. And that actually looks encouraging right now. We'll have to see how all the numbers come out at the end of the day. Can we afford to truck it the 15 kilometers to where we're anticipating the mill to be? Probably more importantly in the area is the new discovery made by Anglo Gold on their Silicon project. Has a big sulfide component with it.
Do we know that yet? Have they put out a press release on that?
No, but they have announced that they've got a significant discovery, and we've had pretty good discussions with them about just what is the style of mineralization and what are they looking for. We're actually using some geophysical tools now at Mother Lode that they were using, and so I think when we look at the sulfide component in the district, not only North Bullfrog, but some of the other potential deposits in the area, that we will end up with substantially more sulfide material in the overall Bullfrog district as a whole. There's certainly, from the data we got from Goldcorp when we bought the Mother Lode project, there's a deposit on Coors ground just to the west of us called Secret Pass. It has a large sulfide component in it that runs about 1.5 grams a ton. It's sizable. And so I think there will be a lot more sulfide material in the overall district that will eventually need some sort of processing. And so far, North Bullfrog sulfide has looked very similar to Mother Lode sulfide. But we haven't done all the test work yet needed to answer that question.
Okay. And for the oxide material, that would be processed separately. You're not going to truck half-gram stuff or preg solution or something?
Yeah, you're right. There'll be a run-of-mine heap leach built at North Bullfrog, and there is a lot of that low-grade material there between the, around 0.2 to 0.3 kind of stuff that currently would go into the mine plan. And to be honest, to mine the vein system that we have out there at Yellow Jacket, we got to mine it anyway. So it either goes as waste or you take the marginal amount of money you make out of it and put it on a heap leach pad. All of our modeling is at 1250, so we looked at what it takes for 1250. Certainly at better gold prices, it makes it even more advantageous to run that low-grade material.
All right. Well, one of the things I was interested to see when I was on the property was that you are drilling at North Bullfrog 2, and ever since Yellow Jacket, you've been looking for the next Yellow Jacket to increase the grade there. It's been a while coming. I'm inviting you to wave your arms here. What do you think the odds are, and when will we know if any of the targets you're testing this year, might be the next yellow jacket or not?
Well, I think that as far as results go, we usually like to put them out on a fairly regular basis. We should see results this month on that initial drill work that's gone on at North Bullfrog. We've tested a few targets, one called Cat Hill, the southern extension of the Jolly Jane deposit, and a new sediment-hosted target we call Jasperoid. Jasperoid, we're looking for more the typical sediment-hosted oxide deposit that we would find in the upper parts of a Carlin system. At Cat Hill, we're looking for an actual vein system. We hit a stockwork vein zone there. Whether it has gold in it or not, I don't know, but we should have results fairly shortly. And we'll put those out as soon as we get them. It certainly is a big alteration system. It's along one of the major structures that are key fairways for us to explore on. So if we get encouragement out there, we'll be back at that area, continuing to pursue vein-type exploration. And you're right, we have been looking for the next yellow jacket for a while, and we have a huge alteration system on the east side. It's really the upper part of what would be the 500 meters above a yellow jacket type system. So the targets there are deep. So we will take a swing at that this year. We have a project called Spicerite where we're going to do a pre-collar and then a deep core test to try and look for a vein system at depth in that eastern steam heated zone. And if we have any success out there, it really opens up a huge area. So, we're plugging away out there. We drilled a hole in the northern extension of the Yellow Jacket vein system that looked encouraging from the drilling that we did out there, and we're exploring right now on the west side of the Sierra Blanca deposit that you mentioned earlier, and that's really chasing some of this 1-2 gram type sulfide material out there. We have found that there's multiple structures in that pediment off to the west, so we'll keep marching out there until we believe we found the edge of the system.
Right. Well, that sounds pretty exciting. But the deep drilling doesn't sound cheap. So what's the exploration budget for this year, and how much money do you have in the bank?
Yeah, we have about $5 million in the treasury, and that's about what we're going to spend between now and probably March of next year. So that's, for us, that's kind of our normal drill program. Typically what we like to do is we have one RC drill rig out there. We're keeping that busy. We're able to look at results before we have to go back and drill something. So we're trying to drill smart out there. And they're early, what we call new discovery type targets. So you're going to fail a lot. And so we're continuing to go out there and trying to hit that next yellow jacket system out there, or another mother lode, maybe at the Jasperoid. So we'll see how it goes, but we're pretty well financed for that going forward. In the past we've been able to raise money. Corvus has with our existing shareholder base quite a bit. Between Tocqueville, who own 19.5% of us, and Anglo Gold with 19.9% of the company, we've been able to pass the hat and been able to raise money when we need to. But as you see, $5 million is not a big exploration budget, so we're pretty careful with it. And it's important that we're careful, as most of management owns fairly good position of stock in the company.
Well, $5 million is, it's not a major exploration budget, but that's enough money to give a good test to several targets, as opposed to, just a Hail Mary hole out there somewhere. So, hats
Right.
off to you for that, and good luck to you on that. But let's go back to the takeover question, the transaction question. You've got millions of ounces of gold there. You've got a PEA, which, you had a $1,350 price before, which for many years wasn't reasonable, but now you have what looks like a very reasonable price assumption in your, you've got millions of ounces of gold. You've got, good economics at a now very conservative gold price. And you've got majors working in your area, making significant discoveries. If what you have is as good as what you say, why do you still exist? Why haven't you been taken over yet?
Well, I think we have a pretty patient acquisition market, to be honest, and particularly the players involved that we have in the district. So I think that we will get there to that sort of end, and the district will get consolidated. I think it's very important that the new Anglo discovery that they have at Silicon. Now, granted, they only have 55 drill holes in this, but I think they've seen enough encouragement with this discovery that they are prepared to go and put a very sizable program there going forward. They should get their new permit by the end of the year, and they'll be in there with a very large program. That is probably one of the more important catalysts for any kind of transaction, I think, with Corvus. Anglo owns 19.9% of us. They maintain that ownership as we have dilutive events with financings and so forth. So they certainly have a strong interest, and they've said that basically to the public. I think going forward, if they can prove up that they really have something there, along with the ounces that we have, all of a sudden we start to get to that level that a big company really wants to see to enter an area, which is about 5 million ounces or more. And, I think that comes about here. And Corvus, what we can do to help the situation out is make more discoveries, enlarge the resource base, keep pushing that window to that significant number of ounces, and keep developing the kind of stuff we can do that help out companies in making M&A decisions. That's really drill density and metallurgy. Those are the two things we can do. They're going to design their own pits. They're going to make their own development plans, and they have their own costs to capital. And so I think what we can do is provide those two basic pieces of data, which is what Corvus is focused on spending their money on.
Make it bigger and de-risk it. I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Good agenda. I like that. And I have to ask the one question I ask everybody, and that is the skin of the game question. I mean, this all sounds wonderful, but if I'm a prospective shareholder, I want to know that you have skin in the game with me. So how much, not options you got given, how much of your own money have you put into this?
Well, I've purchased every share that I own in Corvus, and I own 3.6 million shares of Corvus right now, and I probably have family members that total in around 700,000, so about 4 million shares of exposure. And so, yeah, it's very important for this to be a success for me personally on a financial basis. And I'm really doing everything I can to make that a success. And that's why we're very stingy. We don't give warrants. We don't do those kind of normal junior things, because at the end of the day, there's going to be a value established for these deposits that Corvus Gold owns. And that value is going to be divided by the number of shares issued and outstanding. So we're very conscious of trying to keep that number down. And so that's why in the past Corvus has never issued warrants on any kind of financing we've done.
Okay, well, very good. I appreciate you sitting still for my obnoxious, rude questions there. And sounds great. So wishing you the very best of luck to you and the team, and keep us posted.
All right, sounds great, Louis. Good talking to you.